Hi guys, welcome to the session on machine learning with Python. Today we are going to cover some of the questions that you all have in your mind. So first of all, I would like to thank you for joining today's program, and we are going to cover certain introduction in terms of what is machine learning, why should I learn machine learning, I don't know programming, can I learn Python, how difficult it is. So there are hundreds of questions which come in our mind, right? So before I get into it, I want to give you a short brief about myself. So I'm Dimple Sangvi, and I work as a corporate trainer, mentor, data scientist, and a management consultant. I come with more than 18 years of experience, and I have worked with most of the Fortune 500 companies by providing both online and offline training. So that's in brief about me. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Now coming back, so yes, we all come with many doubts in our mind. Can I learn machine learning? It sounds to be very hype. It's very technical. I'm not an engineer student. Maybe I'm an engineer student, but that's not taught to me in the college, and so on and so forth. Moreover, with the coming of COVID, there is a fear of a global recession coming in. We are having a fear that how will I survive in the market going forward. So it's important for us to know that we have to constantly upskill ourselves, right? So now what's happening in the market now is obviously the most happening field is machine learning, right? You would be hearing that if you go to LinkedIn page or you go to any of the job portals, you will find that there are millions of jobs which are opened up for artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. If you have not upskilled yourself, this is the right time for you to do it, not because I'm training, but it's the need of the hour. Now, what do I need to know? What are the prerequisites for me to pick up machine learning, right? So I would keep it, though you can go and Google it, you will find hundreds of things which people say, but based on my experience, I would say that you just need a simple analytical and logical mind, right? You should know some basic algorithm. If you know how to prepare tea at your home in a step-by-step process, then you can definitely upskill yourself to become a machine learning engineer. It is going to take time, but it's not impossible. That's what I mean to say. And a willingness to apply your learning into practice. So I would keep it in a very simple way, that have the willingness, have the eagerness to learn, and then you will learn everything that is required by the future of the world, in terms of you getting a secure job, you being able to survive in the going forward environment, right? And change is the only thing that is constant, so we need to adapt to the change by upskilling ourselves. People say, I have seen people say that you should know linear algebra, calculus, and so on, but just to let you know, I'm a commerce graduate and I've still been successful in this field because I know how to apply machine learning in real life scenarios, right? If you know all these things, that is definitely an added advantage. But if you don't know this, it does not mean that you're going to be held back. I will be covering whatever are the topics that are required as we proceed further, right? And even during this, if you have any doubts, just feel free to pause, raise your hand, and ask the questions. So let's go further, right? As I just said, it's only the three things that are required: your attitude and your aptitude and the willingness to work hard. And you will definitely master machine learning. At the end of the course, you will feel yourself as a transformed person in terms of the knowledge that you have acquired during the journey. So coming back, I have a simple question for you, right? What do you do when you are learning a new skill? Right? It could be a guitar, like playing guitar, you want to play cricket, or you want to play basketball, or you want to learn to swim. What's the common skill that we have, but that one needs to have? People who have become successful in their respective field, at least when they are learning a new sport and skill, is practice and persistence. And that is what you will need to do when you are working on this program. And this is definitely a commitment which you have to give to us when it comes to learning this program, right? So let's dive deep into the topic. Now, the keynote is that obviously it is the most in demand job in this century, right? And you don't have to have a fear that, okay, with coronavirus, COVID coming, there is a lot of fear that people have, there are loss of jobs, there is a global recession which might kick in, and so on and so forth. If we upskill ourselves with the right skills that are required by the market, you are employable, right? So you need to upskill yourself with the right skills and enjoy this learning process. We will help you understand how to solve real world problems. We are not here to teach you only theory. We are here to make you like a machine learning engineer, an ML engineer who is able to solve real world problems, and that's where the demand is, right? What are the topics we are going to cover? At a glance, at a high level, I would say that we will be covering basics of Python, machine learning, where we will be covering supervised learning, unsupervised learning, creating prediction model, and so on. And there will be a detailed brochure which you can download from the website, right? Under Python, the topics which we will be going, the depth that we would be going, it would be an overview, introduction to Python, Python data types, control statements, loops, functions, classes. Because as you would be aware, Python is the most happening programming language, and the edge it has, like C, C++, it's also an object-oriented programming language, right? Which makes it more easy to be reused and to be developed. And you have a big open community who are constantly upskilling Python, and there are a lot of functions which are classes which are getting created, which we can use. You guys can create your own functions and classes which you can upload it on the respective websites, and the whole world can use it. So we will do those as we proceed, right? I take a pause. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask the questions. Okay, so I will go further. So that is on Python. Now we will learn the most important part. What are we going to cover in machine learning? So I have kept the topics at a very high level over here, but each topic we would be going in depth. So we would be covering what's the difference between AI, machine learning, data science, what is data pre-processing, what is supervised learning. Under supervised learning, we would be covering the regression model, the classification model. We would be also learning the most important concept of feature engineering, right? Because that's an important thing. You need to develop features which are not present in your data structures, and you might want to reuse, create additional features, remove certain features, extract certain features. We will cover those things in detail. Then we will cover unsupervised learning, ensemble learning, time series modeling, because obviously we want to create prediction models, and machine learning is known for creating all different types of prediction models. And as you would be knowing, the most happening thing is, like, I know during the lockdown, most of you were just hooked to Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all these things, where we found that it immediately pops out. This is the recommended series for you. This is the recommended movie for you. So we would also create a recommender system as part of our learning. And you will get to know that what are the logic that is used, what is the algorithm that is being used. And that's where Amazon Prime and Netflix is making the lot of money that they are making now. Right? We would also be covering text mining in a bit over there. Right? With that, we proceed further. Today, I'll be covering a small topic on data types in Python and simple linear regression. And the remaining topics, we'll take it further later. Right? So the categories, you would have heard that data can be, what are different types of data, right? So some people say it's a variable data, it's a constant data, it is a continuous data, and so on. So I will make it very simple for you. Data is actually of two types. You call it as a variable or a continuous data type if you can measure it, right? Whatever can be measured is called as data. But when I'm talking about a measurable data, it means that you can actually divide it into a lower unit. For example, I can measure time, right? What is the gap between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock? So you will say it is 60 minutes. How many seconds are there? So you would say that, okay, so many seconds. And if I ask you for milliseconds, so basically what happens is I can divide the time into a lower and lower unit. So suppose if somebody is running a 100-meter race, the race is completed in 3 seconds. So what is the difference between the first person and the second person? happen, it would be hardly some milliseconds. So when you are able to divide your data into two parts, right, into a lower unit, there are better algorithms which statisticians have made which we can use. So hence it is important for us to know that, okay, if it's a variable or a continuous data type, then I'm going to use certain set of algorithms. And the other one is attribute or discrete algorithm, right? So attribute would be that how many students are currently present in the class. So we say yes, 15. Can I say that there are 13 and a half students present in the class? Can I say there are 14 and a half students present in the class? No, right? Either the student is present or absent. It's not something called as a half present, right? And same way, how many pencils do I have? So at any point of time, I have so many pencils. I cannot say I have a half pencil and a full pencil. So when I can only count them as a whole number, then it is called as an attribute or a discrete data. How many books have you read? So you cannot say, okay, in this book I read 10 pages, in that book I read 20 pages. You would obviously say that, yes, I have read 4 books, or I have read 5 books, I have 5 books at home. You will not tear the book and say that, okay, I have a 2.5 book and a 1.5 book, right? So that's the most easiest way for you to remember what is the difference between a variable or a continuous data and an attribute or a discrete data. So here I can divide my time into a lower unit. For example, what's your salary? Can I divide that salary into a lower unit? So you might say it is in thousands, then you might say it in hundreds, then you might say it in paisas, and so on. I can divide that into a lower unit. What's your weight? Again, you can kilograms, pounds, kgs, or grams, milligrams, and so on. And here I can only count them as whole numbers. Because when we go further, so when you are applying regression models, so if your data is a continuous data, you'll be applying a linear regression. But if your data is attribute data, then you'll be applying logistic regression. So that's the reason that though it looks like a very simple, when you are selecting the models, you are selecting the algorithms going forward, you should know which one to select, which we will cover as we go further, right? So here let's do a quick check. So here are certain questions. So the reason I'm showing you this is that most of the topics that I would be covering, I teach a topic, then there would be a quick check that we would do that. Did you understand? So for example, the number of undelivered bills per month, is it discrete or is it continuous? Obviously it is discrete, right? Because you cannot say that I delivered half a bill, you will deliver it full, right? Number of hours of installed circuit board last. Obviously you can divide this hours into minutes and seconds, so it becomes a continuous data type. So basically we would be covering all the topics and we would be covering them with examples so that your learning is complete, right? The motto over here which Hattigen and we have come together is not only to teach but to make you learn the topic, right? It's not about theory, but it's about learning which you can carry with you all your life. Right now, before I jump into machine learning, I thought let me take you to Python. Right, so we are going to download Anaconda Navigator. In Anaconda Navigator, you would find many applications which are there like Jupyter and so on. We are going to work on Jupyter Notebook. You can see this icon over there and you can click on launch. Once you click on launch, it will actually open up the Jupyter Notebook in a way like this, right? So I have already opened this, right? Now I want to create a new Python notebook. So on this screen at the right hand side, you have this option called as new, and here it shows as Python 3. So it is going to, you have options to create text file, folders and terminals, but let's create a Python notebook because let's do a simple bit of understanding what can. So this is how our Jupyter Navigator looks like. The Jupyter, we also call it as a notebook because the way we used to write notebooks in our school, we are going to maintain our notes over here. There are some important things which you should know is you have code, you have markdown, and you have heading, right? So if I'm going to say a equal to 2, I'm going to run this. Either I click on the run command and run it, and it has already assigned. That is why you see that 1 has come, but it doesn't show the output. If I have to see the output, I can just say a and then run it. So output is 2. If I say a into a, the output is 4, right? And in Python, if I don't want to print something, I'll just give a hash and put the comments. So though it has come, it knows very clearly that I have to ignore this statement, right? And I can do my arithmetics, like I can say name equal to Hatijan IT, and I can print the name. The course is provided by name. So what it is going to do is it is going to print. So if you see, the ease of using Jupyter Notebook is very easy, because the minute you type the program, the command, you can see the output. So it's like an interactive notebook that we have, right? There are other Python interactive Python environments like PyCharm and others, but the thing is that it looks like a black screen, and you might get a feeling that, okay, I should know Python as a programming language very well. So hence I prefer to show this more on Jupyter Notebook, because it's very interactive. If you make a mistake, for example, I would have made a mistake, right, and I said something, and if it gives me an error, it is immediately, and the error is also displayed, telling that I have not, there is nothing called as print, because I forgot the letter T. And now when I print, it actually prints, right? So we spoke about continuous data types, right? So now I said A equal to 4. So I can actually, sorry. Just a second. So, okay. So we are going to say A equal to 4. We are going to say the other one B equal to 4.2422. And I can give multiple statements over here, right? So C equal to 5 plus A into B. Now, when I run this, I have given actually 2 statements, and I can run this together. So what will happen is both B is getting stored and C is getting calculated. And the rule of BODMAS, which we have learned in school, gets applied, right? So BODMAS is that you have brackets which get applied first, followed by off, or then followed by division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, right? So when I set this as a markdown, you can see that it is just displayed as a simple text. I can obviously go back, push a hash, and then make it as a bigger heading. Because what did I do? I kept it as a markdown. I kept a hash symbol to tell that I want this to be visible. So I'm using this technically as a notebook, and then I'm going to do my work. So here what has happened is first A into B is done, and then an addition of 5 is done, and then C gets displayed. One of the important thing about Python is that Python is case sensitive. So for example, if I say capital C equal to I would say 3.14, right? And then when I say C prints, I can either say print C, and then I can say print capital C, right? You are seeing that the small c is actually containing this algorithm that we had saved, whereas the capital C is containing the value which it is having. So we have to remember one thing is that Python is case sensitive. So but I can change the value of the existing variable. So I can still say C is equal to 2.5, right? I want to give a different number. Now when I say print C, it says C is 2.5. So this value, even if I go back and print shift enter, you see that my value has been replaced with the new value. So I can replace the values, but it is case sensitive, right? So on and so forth. So we'll be covering all these topics in detail. So let's go back to our presentation, right? what are we going to cover in machine learning, right? So what is machine learning before that, before we get into a topic? Machine learning involves creating prediction models. I want to keep it very simple. I don't want to give a very technical definition which makes it difficult. But basically, what are we doing machine learning with? We are actually telling the machine that, okay, I'll give you the data. You tell me what is going to happen in future. So I'm giving you the historic data. You train the model and you test the model, and you help me predict what will happen when I give a different set of values, right? So, and why are we doing all these things? We are doing this to solve some sort of business problem statement, right? Either you are working as an HR and you want to tell that, okay, if a person comes with 5 years of experience, what is the salary I need to give? Because if you're going to pay them less, then also they are going to leave, and if you're going to pay them more, it's going to create an imbalance within the organization. So let's do a simple thing, right? The different libraries that we are going to cover in Python, obviously we might cover much more than this as well, but at a high level, these are the ones, right? So coming to regression, right? So as I told you, during data types, if we have a continuous variable, then we go for regression models, right? What is regression? In statistics, it is nothing but you want to identify a relationship between variables. You want to identify that what happens when one thing changes. So if the years of experience changes, what will happen to the salary? If somebody is getting higher percentage, what will happen to his admission in a college, right? So basically you want to create a simple type of relationship between the x is nothing but your independent variables. Your years of experience is not dependent on anything, right? But your salary depends upon your years of experience. Your salary depends, the job type of role you get depends upon the number of years of experience and the knowledge that you have. So the x, in statistics we keep all the independent variables and we call them as x, and y is something that we call it as a dependent variable. That is the output that we want, and the output is actually dependent upon the inputs, right? So we use a very simple, so first of all, before we even get into model prediction, we do a simple graphical representation of scatter plot, where we try to draw the graph between x and y axis and try to see how it so I'm going to just skip this slides and take you directly to this point, right? So I'm going to plot the years of experience of my x on x-axis and my dependent variable y, the output, on y-axis. And when these plot gets plotted, means when these dots get plotted, you're able to see certain patterns, right? These patterns help us to understand whether there is a positive correlation or a negative correlation. So you would have heard, right, when it is summer and you suddenly say that, okay, now from summer it goes to rainy season, and we still continue to eat ice creams and drink cold water and we catch cold. What do we people, usually our parents say that, right? Because you had too much of cold ingredients like ice creams and cold water, you got the cold, or maybe because you got drenched in the rain, you got cold. So we are always trying to create certain site of correlation, right? We feel that the disease is an output. What are the inputs which went into it, right? Currently, even for COVID, we are trying to understand that, okay, why did this happen? Because we always want to understand the output is always dependent on some input. So what type of correlation it is, right? So we want to draw that correlation and we want to establish it. And what statistics would have done is that, if I have to keep it in a simple formula, we say it is as y is equal to mx plus c. Some people say y is equal to b naught plus b1 into x1. So basically what happens is, for every change in x1, there is some constant, there is an intercept that happens, and that is how the formula is derived. But the beauty with machine learning and Python is that I don't have to remember these sentences, these formulas, because if I know that I want to create a simple linear regression, the model is available in the libraries, and we call those libraries and the function takes place. What do I mean to say is, the algorithm runs, the machine learning algorithm runs and calculates this formula for us and helps us draw it, right? So going back, I'm going to take this example of salary. I'm taking a very simple example because this is the first class. Number of years of experience and the salary that we have. And let's directly jump into the Jupyter notebook and then do it. So I can continue in the same notebook. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to leave some blank spaces and then start, right? So one of the important thing that obviously we need is pandas. Pandas is a library in machine learning in Python, which actually helps us in reading files and so on. So we import pandas as PD, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say data frame is equal to read underscore CSV. So I'm going to, when I cover Python in detail, we will be covering how to read a file, read a CSV file, read a HTML file, read an Excel file, and so on. So in my current database, if you come here, you will find that I have salary data.csv. So S is capital. As I told, Python is case sensitive, so I need to give it very clearly CSV. So sorry, pd.read. So I have to say, because read CSV is part of pandas, I have to say pd.read CSV has read the CSV file and saved it in DF. DF is nothing but a data frame, right? So I'm trying to give the same. So if I want to see, I can just say DF enter and it will show me all the records. Now here I have only 29 records, so it is displaying all the records. But what if I have hundreds and thousands of records and I want to see only the top 5? So I will say head of 5. So it is going to show me the top 5 records. If I want to see the bottom 5 records, I'm going to say DF tail of 5. Right, so it is going to show me 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. One more thing which you would have observed is that in years of experience, when you are looking at this data, the index or the unique identifier for the row starts with 0, because pandas starts the numbering from 0 and then it goes on. So though there are 30 rows of data in my database, it is going to start with 0 to 29. Now I want to understand the number of records, the data type, and so on. So I just say df.info. So when I say df.info, it is telling me that this data frame has, first of all, this is a pandas core frame data frame. It has 30 entries and the entries are numbered from 0 to 29. There are 2 data columns, so there are 2 columns of data. One is years of experience, the other one is salary. Years of experience, you have all the 30 fields and the type is float. Float is nothing but continuous data type. And then you have salary, it's an integer data type because there is no decimal value in the salary that we have given, but it is still a continuous data type, right? And how much of memory it is using and so on. So that's what it is trying to show, right? And I want to see how is my data spread. So I can say df.describe. So when I describe, because both of them are numerical field, it gets, so it says count, how many records do I have, what is the average. So the average years of experience in my data set is 5.3 and the average salary is 76,000. So you know average, right? Average is the total divided by the number of records. So it would do a sum of all the salaries and divided by 30 to come to this average. What is the standard deviation? It is 2.8 years. And this is the standard deviation in terms of salary. Then we have this 5-point data structure, right? So what is the minimum years of experience? What is the 25th percentile? What is the 50th percentile? 75th percentile, and the maximum years of experience, right? So what happens is you are actually using descriptive statistics to describe the data over here, which tells very clearly that what is the minimum salary, what is the maximum salary, what is the median salary, 25th percentile, 75th percentile, interquartile range, and so on, right? Now I am going to import matplotlib. Now I want to display the scatter plot, and the simple thing is I can press Shift Tab to get the immediate help. What are the fields that is required. So I don't even have to go to, it's like a F1 help. So I need to give X and Y as variables and everything else is fine. So my X is nothing but my X axis is DF dot years of experience, right? So I'm going to give that because it is case sensitive. DF dot salary is my Y axis. When I plot this, you can see that it is actually plotting, it is showing a positive correlation. Obviously it is positive because as the years of experience goes up, the salary goes up, right? And then we can actually draw a line over here. Now I can use a machine learning algorithm and models over here to then predict that if somebody with 12 years of experience joins my organization, what is the salary I need to give? If somebody joins with 6 years of experience, what is the salary I need to give? So we would be covering all those things as we go further. So with here I take a pause in terms of the concepts. One of the bonus things which I want to say is that at the end of this training program, you're going to do a live project as well. And we would form you into a groups of 1 or 2 people and then make you do this project because it will give you a good learning in terms of the experience.